Good afternoon, UK. This is your boy Tim on the buzz, and I'm talking to you everything business, tech, entrepreneurship, and anything to do with, when it comes to the economy, when it comes to UK, when it comes to the growth of the country. Right now, I'm talking to you now with regard to, it's been a big question in the lines of, if businesses are actually booming after the lockdown is actually eased, right? And I mean, people have definitely been waiting to come out of their homes. Now, it's been a big, question if in the lines of if people are still scared to come out, if people are still very cautious, extra cautious, paranoid. Now you get different types of people, but also you have the people that have been very eager to come out and get stuff done. Very eager to go out and buy things. Go meet their friends, go to the pubs. I mean, me personally, I just couldn't wait. Get out of the house, relax. Take a break from being at home because I agree. I mean, in one way, now it has been pretty cool being at home, catching up with the fam, and if it's the dogs, things like that. But I mean, me personally, I think now, I mean, I've got quite a bit of a dosage on that, and I just want to take a break. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, down the line, I mean, things are gonna go back to normal. Let's hope at least. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking, going out in the night, meeting up with my friends whenever, not wearing my mask. And I mean, this is hopefully going to be us by the end of next year at least. So, I mean, talking about, now coming back to businesses and how businesses are doing in this chat. Now, feel free to comment, you can comment or ask me questions on this because I'm going to run you through what businesses are experiencing right now. Now, talking about the latest updates, the PMI has hit high records this month, and there are cost pressures. So these are also rising because people have not been too used to the demand and the switch up in terms of demand and supply with regard to a couple of weeks ago. If I'm not mistaken, it was about just over a month ago, right? And talking about how the retail sales across Britain have surged about 9.2%. But I'll be getting right into this after showing you a quick video on who we are at Relax Radio and what we do. That's right. This is the buzz. I'm with you all the way till 3 p.m. now. This is Tim, and you know what I talk to you about? It's everything business, tech, entrepreneurship, anything you need to know with regards to what is going on in the UK and what is going on you know, in and around the businesses, or if it comes to productivity, all these things, right? Now to add to the conversation, we have, we've been talking in the lines of concerns as to if the demand has been high enough, if supply is being managed well. But BOE basically looks to make its corporate QE scheme greener. Now these are obviously acts that people were, at least businesses, countries, governments or legislations were actually looking at integrating into current operations, right? But then, understanding how the Bank of England is asking for views on how to make its, corporate QE program more environmentally friendly, and talking about how looking at greening options, looking at the corporate bond purchase scheme, and then talking about how $20 billion worth of debt has been issued by UK companies. Now, it is part of the much wider, I'd say 895 billion pound program. This is the QE program, right? And this mainly buys UK gilts. Now to add to this, the BOE wants to hear how it can basically use its balance sheet, I'd say, to incentivize bond issuers. So, the support transition and, encouraging each other to, encouraging investors to work together to basically do the same, right? So now going down the line, I think you have to give me a say here in terms of what your opinion is, because when we're talking about how one option could basically be for the bank to sell, bonds and then be held by polluters. The other could basically be in the lines of debt issuing and then becoming closer to greener companies. I mean, coming down the line, right, you need to push for how the borrowing costs and the rewardings, these efforts are pushed to be lowered, right? And, now this guy, Andrew Hauser, he's basically the BOE's executive director for markets and arguing this morning that the situation is more complicated. Basically, at first sight, he says that it might seem pretty simple, but then coming down the line, the carbon footprint of the CBPS would fall sharply. And then talking about how, adding to the extent of the bank's actions, these were influential. Now, I definitely think, finances are important and they need to be managed well. But as important as finance is, I think the environment needs to, I'd say be given prominence to. Because I'd say now to add to this, the largest block of ice, the largest iceberg, this is breaking news, right, has been basically jumped off or broken off the one of the caps today. And now this is sad news. This is significant news because it's almost the size of the New York park, the Central Park. And now that is pretty big, right? Now I want to know what your take is on this because if people should wait to standardize budgets and organize the ways as to how they need to move down the line. Now I need to know what your take is. So always feel free to call me out. Call me and just message me on 07852473473. That's our number. This is Relax Radio. This is your channel because we keep a conversation going between two parties, right? We want to know what your take is on the conversations and understanding where you want to go with things. So I mean, talking about now the first net high emissions, right? Now with these basically the firms who would be selling are the ones we need the most. And at the vanguard of emissions, the reductions, but selling their bonds doesn't necessarily mean destroying their assets. But talking about the considerations towards the environment. Now, selling all these and then simply talking towards a high carbon footprint. These basically penalize those with a strong, credible emission, and then talking about reduction plans, talking about how these reduction plans are not necessarily needed, but then excluding a high commission, bond, and then how the CBPS should be an option. Hauser has basically spoken about. He says that it's basically a diverse pool or a tool, and talking about how when you're remaining these in the toolkit, you need to concentrate on how credible the threat is to reinforce initiatives. Now, to add to this, the Bank of England is putting its money where their mouth is when it comes to the green mandate, right? So we know that things are being prioritized from the government level. I mean, I have so much of respect for the government in terms of trying to get other countries to push it together, to coordinate in the lines of cooperation and towards the environment. But at the end of the day, I think my personal opinion is only action that counts, right? So if people are only discussing it yet, that doesn't mean it's still done. So talking about how you need to be glad on considering that the excluders are zero and the issuers are incompatibly with net zero up to a quarter. So going further, we are in the lines of talking about how the options for the green bank and then talking about the corporate bond purchase scheme. These are all considered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you onto a couple of videos again. Now I'm going to get right back to this, but stay tuned. I'll be right back with you. So, like I was saying, to add to the topic, when there has been an outliner or a lower carbon emission value, I mean, when you're eliminating the bonds rather, you need to concentrate on how much of carbon is actually being incentivized, or acting as the bonds which can conduct for the economy by 2/3, right? So that is the rest of the 2/3. Now, when you're adding to this, you need to consider building on this excellent work, and the credit policy, the long-term funding. This is this long-term funding scheme, and then talking about the collateral framework with the prudential policy. These are always all being fulfilled by the mandate. Now to also. Now coming back to the launch consultation, right? And when you're looking for a greener future, the corporate bond basically has looked at purchasing a purchasing scheme that has basically bought about $20 billion worth of debt from UK companies, right? And now these guys, I like how it's all integrated or merged together in terms of the private companies, because people are going to be held accountable, and there's so many shareholders, and there's a whole economy, or I'd say a whole system that is basically built on each other. And when you're talking about the BOE, these guys are basically looking at how it basically can use the balance sheet to incentivize the bond issuers, and then even support transition. So to push for the bank to sell its yield, Andrew Hauser also talks about how, in a speech with Bloomberg, they've spoken about how the mandate, and then the Jeremy Leaf, that London's real estate reports are still strong, and although these although these figures may reflect sales, these are values that have been agreed like several months ago. And we're not talking about several months ago. We are looking at a different scale because it's with all this COVID or this uncertainty, you can't really say how much you can expect. But with that being said, I think my personal take is that overall it's an amazing concept because when to conclude it in the lines of the branches or how the 90-minute commute birth was felt. These guys in April had basically spoken about the Chichester and the Ipswich leading the way. But with Northampton, finally these guys are talking about elevating the pound against the euro and then elevating it to 1.163 euro. Now, this was the highest level recorded on Monday, but hopes are only high. I'm hoping that these things go positively so we can look from here.